Okay. What world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up, and did any of them personally affect your family?
I don't know that they personally affected my family, but Kennedy's assassination, for sure.
Why?
Oh, I mean, we watched the whole thing unfold. I mean, I was in, I think, ninth grade, and then we went home, and it was like a live murder on TV when Ruby shot Oswald.
Because it was live TV?
Yeah. They were bringing him in. It was a big news thing. I mean, the whole weekend it was Thanksgiving weekend, in fact. And and we only had like 3 stations back then even.
But everybody was glued to the
And everybody was glued to the TV, and we were watching the TV, I think it was in the morning, like Saturday morning. We're watching TV, and they're saying, oh, now they're bringing in Lee Harvey Oswald, who, as the person who's responsible for shooting the president, and they're bringing him through the police headquarters, and all of a sudden, here comes this man writing on TV and kills him.
You didn't see that? You didn't?
Well, I've seen the footage, but I always thought that footage was like released after the fact.
No, we watched it live.
Sunday morning.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, oh my God. And I was like 13, 14, and I'm like, that was a murder on TV. We just saw that. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah. Was it the same thing, like, when JFK was shot? Did people, did you notice it first, or was it like, what's going on?
No, when JFK was shot, it people had footage. They had taken movies of it, but the Zapruder film and all that, it wasn't live because it wasn't a live event because he traveled all the time.
Right.
It might have been a live event when it was going on in Dallas, for the local news in Dallas, but not a national event because he traveled all the time, so it wasn't on our TV. But, yeah.
It wasn't on there. It wasn't even on the local TV.
I bet it was in Dallas because when he came to Fort Lauderdale,
If it had been on
they
local
put it on
TV.
the news.
If it had been live when he got shot in front of a local TV camera, that would be the film you'd be looking at.
Well, today it would be, but back then, I mean, people. It's
there was no
amazing
film
to
of
think.
it made. The only film is the Zapruder film.
What?
The guy's name was Zapruder. He was a jeweler, I think. And what's amazing now to think about in this day and age is he was the only one taking a movie of it with his Bell and Howell, which is an old Super 8, not Super 8,
the old 8mm.
8mm,
So
today, everybody, there would have been, hundreds, yes, but back then, he was the only one taking a movie.
So that's what that footage when you see JFK.
That's the Zapruder film.
That's an amateur.
That's an amateur
Wow.
Zapruder, yeah.
Wow. So then, was there any backlash on, because today if there was a murder on TV, it would be like, this TV station would be like, we are so sorry for the trauma.
No, there really wasn't. Because the funny thing about it was, at the time, that security was so lax that he could have even gotten in there to watch them, that would never happen today. To watch somebody, who had just assassinated the president, to be able to come in and
see him
and even be that close to him. But what they said is he was it was Dallas police, and he was a local business. He owned strip clubs. But all the cops knew him. He was like a friend to the police, and he was around the police department all the time. So, but the point is the security was really lax. I mean, it was,
That's very interesting.
But I think that was probably the biggest event in my childhood. That
were people angry about him being killed?
I think they were astounded.
No, I don't think in the beginning. They were astounded.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, or as a child, because I was 13 or 14, I was like, yes, I'm glad he's dead, which was so wrong because you never had a chance to interview him and say, why did you do this? Or were you in cahoots with somebody else? Or it kind of ended there.
Right.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
really the worst case scenario.
Right.
But, you know, for justice, you were like, yes, you know,
Right.
we're glad that happened.
right.
You know, right? Don't you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. That's what he said. That's why he said he did it. He didn't want him for the Jackie to have to come back for the trial and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That was
But
an
he was
excuse
enough.
gave to do it.
But see, there's every kind of conspiracy since
Oh
then.
yeah.
You know.
What about you, Pop? What world event had the most impact on you while you were growing up?
Probably the Band of Pigs, right?
And did any of it? Did any?
It all
of it,
kind of ran together, the Vietnam, that whole period of time. And maybe even before that, the whole Cold War nuclear thing was
Yeah.
probably even more scary
Yeah. That's true.
than what was going on then. But it all kind of came along in that 10-year period.
How do you
I
think?
mean, we used to have to dive under our
When we were
desk.
in elementary school, we would have drills. That we were being attacked, and we would have drills, and we would have to go under our desks and all to protect ourselves.
So, do you think there's any particular world event that like influenced like you and your world view in particular?
Just that whole series of 10 years.
And how do you think that influenced you?
I don't know, it just influenced everybody. I mean, it was
Do you
the
think that-
vulnerability that the world now you can be destroyed.
Mm.
Well,
Somebody can push a button and destroy the world.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that do to you?
we were afraid. We were totally afraid of Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and we had they were fallout shelters where we thought there was going to be a bomb, and people built fallout shelters and stuffed them with food and everything. We didn't, but
It was almost a certainty that somebody was going to push the button and blow
It
the
was a
world.
real paranoia.
There
Yeah.
was a period.
So you think it maybe induced a paranoia
Oh yes.
that wasn't there before?
Oh,
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
for them. Then the Cuban Missile Crisis was when Russia was putting all the missiles in Cuba, which was very close. you know,
Right.
So that was really scary. And they were on the verge of nuclear war, daring each other to push the button first for about 2 weeks. And,
What, Russia brought things to Cuba?
Yeah. The missile.
the missiles.
Yeah.
And then Kennedy ordered them to take them out, and he said, if you don't, I'm going to blow them all up. And then Russia said, well, if you blow them up, we're going to blow you up. And
Cuba
everybody
wasn't
it was-
offering them.
Yeah.
No. It's still not.
It wasn't as much that they were there, it's as much as what was going on about the fact that they
There
were
were
there.
allies with
I dare you to do this, if you do this, I'm gonna do this,
That's nice.
Uh-huh.
and who's gonna,
Right. Just
You know, who's
too
gonna
much
back down?
power. Right. Too much power play.
In Bobby's class at school, he was like in second grade or something, they were taught to duck and cover
We did that in school.
to get under the,
We did that in school.
Yeah.
at St.
that was
John's.
even earlier than the
Oh,
Cuban
yeah.
Missile Crisis, that was when I was in second, third.
Yeah, we did that.
They said it was gonna
We
be
did that
a
at
bomb.
St.
That was
John's.
before it all came to a crisis, I mean, everybody knew the nuclear weapons were out there.
Yeah.
And so we had drills, just like you have a fire alarm drill now, you had a nuclear attack drill.
And I'm not
So
really
that
sure.
definitely shapes you.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why, but when I was like 5, I was totally convinced that the sun was going to fall into
God,
the
this
earth.
guy.
And I'm not sure if that had to do with any event that was going on then, but there was a while when I was really worried about that.
What about you, Grandma?
about what?
What world event had the most impact on you while you were growing up?
I think World War II.
What about the Depression?
I don't, see, I was like 9 or 10, and we didn't want for anything in my house because my father had a steady job.
Oh.
So there was always plenty of food and plenty of clothes, so it didn't really touch.
Did you know there was a depression?
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
And did it affect like people in your town?
Oh, yeah, people
Your
would go and
friends.
get a bag of food, yeah, food bank.
And friends of yours.
And some
huh?
people were too proud to go and get the food.
Did people treat you any differently because you didn't have to do that?
I don't think so, I don't think so, no.
But what about World War II influenced you?
You couldn't have nylon stockings.
Why?
You couldn't get chocolate.
Why?
You had to have rations to get gasoline.
Yeah.
You would only have a certain like number of chips or papers
Yeah.
that you know.
And for shoes too,
Yeah,
you could only get like one
and
pair
nylon
of shoes a
stockings,
year.
like pantyhose.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you couldn't buy tires for your
Yeah,
car.
rubber.
Everyone put their car up on blocks.
Yeah.
Because the stuff was made of
It was,
replacement.
they were using it for
The
for
war.
the war.
Oh.
And you couldn't buy sugar, and you couldn't buy butter.
Oleo.
So what did you cook?
So they had oleo, and my father's don't ever put that on my table.
And oleo was like
It's margarine.
but what's it, margarine?
There was
made out
it
of?
was white.
And
It
you
was like
had
brown, and there was a little orange tablet in there that you broke, and then you put it
to make
through
it a color of
to make it.
butter.
And my mother, I lived on the base, so I could go to the PX there, and so I used to get butter for my mother, and she would save the wrappers, and then she would do the oleo and
the butter?
put the butter wrapper on.
To try to make it better.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't go out and buy all the like sugar and coffee and everything you wanted because it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So in World War II, they took things away because they were sending them to the
For
military.
the war effort.
Everything went to the war effort.
So do you think that, was it harder for people when they were sending things out for the war efforts? Or was it harder in the Depression as far as access to like
The
foods
oil
and
depression
stuff?
was
Okay.
People didn't have jobs. People were starving.
Soup lines, yeah.
Oh,
It wasn't like that in the war.
Soup lines, standing in line.
It was
just
more
eating
luxury
starving,
items that
yeah.
were limited.
Oh.
Yeah. Or, I mean,
Or-
things you could live without.
Things
Not
you could
maybe
live without,
luxury, but things you could live without. You could live without butter.
Okay.